One more NBA slate to close out the week, and this one is probably the wackiest one of all, thanks to those rascals, the Golden State Warriors. We're going to talk about what we always talk about here. We're going to compare my projections to one of the industry leaders at Stokastic. We'll see what their ownership projections think about things on tonight's slate. We're also going to hop into the world of Unabated, check some prop betting markets. We're going to sim some DFS lineups over at Stokastic as well. And by the end of this video, you'll know the must-plays on tonight's NBA slate for January 10th, 2025. Until it all changes in a couple hours when more guys get rolled out. Let's get into it. We got some key news to watch here. I'm not muted, thank God. Whenever I see a chat pop up at the beginning now, I'm like, oh God, the mic accidentally muted itself again. We are safe today, but I do appreciate the chats. Warriors are hilarious tonight. That is true. And happy Friday to our guy Steven and to everybody else here. Appreciate you being here. And appreciate all you guys here on this fine Friday. Of course, I appreciate our presenting sponsor as well, Unabated. Check them out. $30 off, promo code SPLASH. Some of you guys have been signing up. Thank fucking God. Thank you guys. Please keep signing up more and more so they know how much this show matters. With our most views we had ever yesterday, most likes. So thank you guys for watching yesterday's stream as well. But here we go with our key news. And some of this has already changed. John Morant, questionable. Wait. This is the wrong one. This is yesterday. Sorry. It's like, some of this probably has already changed as well. This is today's. Nikola Jokic, questionable. Same illness thing for him. Expect him to go today, but he could still not. Karl-Anthony Towns, questionable. Tyrese Halliburton, questionable. Miles Turner, same Indiana game. With the Golden State guys out, maybe Indiana calls off some dogs. Those guys are questionable. DeJounte Murray, questionable. Jordan Poole, who I wrote up for the DK Network today, writing up the conditional projections from Unabated for Jordan Poole being in or out. A really big EV if Jordan Poole's out today on the overs for basically every wizard with market. So keep that in mind. But Jordan Poole, questionable right now. Trace Jackson Davis, also questionable. If he were out, my God, the rotation would be incredibly short. Probable, Giannis, Damian Lillard, Paul George, Chris Middleton. Paul George, an important one because Joel Embiid and Andre Drummond are both out in that spot for the Sixers tonight. And doubtful, once again, Aaron Gordon, getting closer to getting in, it looks like, but not in yet. Let's see. Jokic still shitting his pants, so it seems. Won some $5 last night. All right, thank you. Hey, well, the win's a win. What's good? What's Gucci? What's Gucci indeed? Not my outfit. TJD is out. GSW down to 7 players. No, they would be down to 8. And actually, no, because they have Quentin Post. So they would have Dennis Schroeder healed, Moody, Kyle Anderson, Lindy Waters, Kevon Looney, Guy Santos, Pat Spencer, Quentin Post would be a 9-man rotation. So they could lose him and still be okay. Technically, right now, they have 10 men. So they're good to go. Let's look at my projections. Let's get into it. See, that's sexy data. Yeah, lots of stomach bugs. Norovirus tearing people up across the country. I knock on wood. We've avoided it so far, but man, I do not need that. We had once in the house and that was terrible. You can once. Oh, you said once some money, not one's $5. Sorry. The chat, like the font on the StreamYard chat is not my favorite in the world. So that's why I'm usually squinting at the screen. It's like a little bit blurry. I think I might be able to change it now. So I might have to look into that. Anyway, top projected player, no surprise. Mr. Hoopy Pants Nikola Jokic at number 1, 68.6 fantasy points, 64.7 for Stokastic. So I'm a little bit above where Stokastic has him at. 31% field ownership. It is so easy to afford him today. I think you pretty much have to. The matchup versus Denver today going, where are they going against again? They're going against Brooklyn. So yeah, no shit. Like I knew it was an easy one, but yeah, Brooklyn, not a high-paced matchup, but still an incredibly soft defensive matchup. Even Claxton being a feisty guy, like Brooklyn's got nothing. So Nikola Jokic in this spot, high projection, looking pretty good to me at 56% ownership. My top 150. Here's the field's 31. Giannis projects terribly for me today. 11.8 salary for him. That price tag's come up. I'm at 54.9. Stokastic has him at 54.8 fantasy points. 8% ownership for the field. I'm going to get 5%. With how much Jokic is going to be represented, I would get the logic going to Giannis a little bit more. That's because of the fact that Jokic, you're competing for that kind of high upside there, hoping that Giannis can give you maybe a better total or a slightly better total relative to value. So that would certainly work. But I would say for Giannis here, he just doesn't project that well. I haven't had him that low this many times, but they're playing Orlando, who's a low-paced team defensively, despite missing all these guys. They're now getting Paolo Banchero in, which doesn't help defensively. It does help the overall picture more on offense. But still, they've been defensively sound no matter who's been in, who's been out. So for Giannis here, that's really what you're running up against. But that said, he can crush any spot. He's Giannis. So you want to get away from Jokic, play Giannis. Frankly, I think you can play them both on the slate. A little bit easier to play some of the guys, but I know some of the lineups I looked at that have Jokic with one of Towns, SGA, probably can get Giannis in there. Is Jokic even playing? I would think so, but you have to talk about him like he is. That's sort of the way this goes. If he doesn't play, probably get another DeAndre Jordan start, which would certainly look okay as a value, but you probably don't need it on the slate, to be honest. I hope TJD and Moody are out for the lulls. That would be funny. I mean, Moody's got knee tendonitis. I think Moody's projection for minutes might be a little bit high in the industry right now because he was back down to 15 minutes last game, and then he was out for the knee injury or the knee tendonitis. So I'm not sold on Moody, but he's going to come up a lot today based on the minutes projections. And Giannis PRA is lower than usual for sure. That's what playing Orlando will do. All right, so Karl-Anthony Towns, my number 3 guy, 20% for the field, 28% for me. He is questionable right now. If he's out, you get probably another Jericho Sims start. I would look better DFS-wise. It's a Precious Achiuwa start. It's got a little more upside per minute. If you do get Towns out as well, more production for Brunson, more production for Towns. Those guys, frankly, at their current price tags, I don't think are really in play. With Towns out, they are in play. So we did see Towns play through the knee injury last game. He's on the Q tag again for the same knee injury. I would think he plays through it, but certainly can go the other way. SGA, 53 fantasy points for him in my projections, 53.8 in his projection for Stokastic. He's going to be playing about 32% in the field today. I got him at 17%. So I'm under on SGA, higher on Towns, higher on Jokic. And I'm okay with that. SGA is certainly a fine enough play. You do have Jalen Williams there to take some production. You have Hartenstein, who I always have a little bit better projected in the industry. Same case for today. I think that's going to be the case with SGA for me overall in most slates. But same thing for him today. The Thunder, I would say, well, I'm trying to think if there's a real case here. They are getting kind of short in the rotation. They're also down to 10 men with all people they have injured. It's hard to make a case against SGA. Like New York's defense, not that good. A little bit of a pace down, I suppose technically would be your case against SGA. Total at 115.3 is right in line with where they pretty much are normally. So I have really no critique of SGA. Maybe he gets off on being an MSG and having the big game. But that's a lot of ownership for him, and I'd rather flatten it out a little bit more. And the way you do that is get less of SGA, more of the other guys. Tyrese Maxey I'm getting a lot of. Maxey the other day just missed so many shots. Was super chalk then. He's not going to be super chalk today at 19%. That said, he flashed huge upside there. At one point, he was like 1 from 9 for 3. Third quarter, he righted the ship a little bit and he just kept shooting over and over again. And they'd said at halftime, like, our goal is to get Tyrese Maxey going in the second half. They did that. And now for Philadelphia, you have another soft match for them going against New Orleans. A decent team total at 113 implied points, 113.3 technically. So for Tyrese Maxey, I have him just a little bit lower than SGA. That's why I'm not getting SGA as much as well. And Maxey, to me, I think has really massive upside based on how he played last game. The assist upside, the market seemed a little bit lower for him today. My projection for him assist-wise also seems a little bit lower with Paul George back in. But I think he gets shots up. I think he's got a good shot at being good again here. The fact he busted last time too as like super chalk. You go back to him here. If someone gets you 70 fantasy points today, I don't think it's out of the realm of outcomes. 60 would be like a more likely thing to shoot for. He probably wins you the slate, and people just won't be there as much as they did last time. Jason Tatum looking pretty good, but not good enough compared to these other guys to me. 12% ownership for the field, 11% in my top 150. Domantas Sabonis does look a little bit better. Results of no De'Aaron Fox today. The rates aren't big enough. Honestly, thought Sacramento would look better. I was doing some dog bowl drafts today just for fun because I had a few minutes and our guy Mathology has been talking to me about how much overlay there is in those tournaments. The dog bowl, of course, the $15 tournament today on Underdog for a shot to go to San Diego and compete for like $1 million in prizes if you want to go check it out at Underdog. But basically, Sabonis I took in that draft, and I was like, oh, Fox got ruled out. It's supposed to be a really big bump for Sabonis. It's a decent bump, but it's not like a crazy rate bump. He's a pretty good producer in court time without De'Aaron Fox, but it's not like a huge leap up, averaging 1.4 fantasy points per minute, which is certainly very good. I would have him about that range tonight. So I like Sabonis. He's going to be played a little bit more than the field, though, that I'm getting 23% for the field, 10% in my top 150. Zion, I actually juiced the rates on Zion quite a bit since he's played this year in court time without Brandon Ingram. And it's not enough possessions. As we talk about 5 to 50 possessions, generally where you want to be for rates to stabilize. Like that's just kind of what the back testing shows for NBA rate data. 209 possessions for Zion Williamson in this court time without Brandon Ingram. 42% usage, 37% assist rate, 1.5 fantasy points per minute. It's a little bit lofty for Zion, but I think that way you at least get some exposure here with him being 1% played by the field. As you can see here, pretty much all the other pay-up options are going to be played pretty decently. So I want to get some Zion because everything else is pretty well covered. You could bump up your Giannis, but he projects like shit. And the match versus Orlando on paper is not a great one. Still think tournament-wise, I get getting more Giannis. For Williamson, though, like he's playing more minutes now, projected for 29, producing really well in court time without Ingram. I think if you want to take the shot, you goose his rates up a little bit and get 5% compared to 1. I think it could be worth some exposure. So not a big stand for me in favor of Zion, but a stand where it's like, I want to make sure I get some here. If he's going to be 1% owned and every other high dollar guy, because there's so much value, everybody else is going to be owned. Hartenstein, I am also high on. Hartenstein has won slates lately, so I don't feel bad about it. He's still 7,200, a little bit too cheap. I'd have him at 43.7 fantasy points today, compared to 37.3 for Stokastic. So high on him once again, but I think that's paid off enough times this year that I'm not mad about it. Revenge game against the Knicks too, as we saw with DiVincenzo. Maybe these guys weren't happy with how they were treated on the way out of New York, so maybe you get a little bit more of an oomph there. We've also seen centers do well against Towns. I think that's something where I don't really care about the DVP that much, but it's happened enough times. So Hartenstein here, I have 40% ownership compared to 8.5. A little bit of a big stand there. Practically, I'd probably get a little bit less than that. But I think he works well at 7,200, and I'll play him like you could afford him. He's kind of a part of if you're not taking Towns kind of lineup, you're not taking Giannis at center, not taking Jokic, you go to a guy like Hartenstein, and I like him enough here. Yeah, revenge game. I mean, look, it's the Knicks people who've been shipped out. They didn't want to get shipped out, though. Hartenstein, I think, he was a free agent, right? So he chose to sign on his own volition as opposed to DiVincenzo, who signed with New York to be there and then got traded. Jalen Williams looking okay, 11% for the field, 21% for me. The big one, the man, the thumbnail, who is ownership despite things moving around, has not changed today. Paul George, a little bit too cheap at 7,500. Field's going to have at 50%. I got him at 45.3. So not a big Paul George anti-stand, but I do think 50% ownership feels a little bit rich, but he's a good play at 7,500. I've been averaging in court time without Embiid. So real weird thing with Paul George, actually, I had to figure out how to massage it the right way. Court time without Embiid, he's been really good. He's averaged 1.2 fantasy points per minute, 27% usage, 27% assist rate. Weirdly, in court time without Embiid and Drummond, his rates get much worse. I didn't save them because I'm like, that's got to be a weird aberration. But he's played shittily without Embiid or Drummond out there for some reason. I don't know if it's because Yabu doesn't set screens as well or what. It could be something like really esoteric like that. But Paul George, I gave him the rates that are a little bit better. So even with that, I'm a little bit higher projected than Stokastic at 42.8, compared to 42.2. But there's something weird with Paul George where, like, I don't get why he would be worse without Embiid and Drummond out there, besides the fact that just kind of changes the flow of things. Maybe Yabu gets a few more threes because of those guys not being in. That'd be my guess, but it's just a little bit weird. Under on Levine is interesting. I mean, I'm under on him. I have no issue with Chicago when they're going into a matchup versus Washington, obviously, but I just, that matchup I faded before within the last couple of weeks, and it didn't really hurt me too much. If I don't have guys projected crazily well, I just don't get there a ton. But getting 14% compared to 22, like, it's not that big of a stand. How big of a difference does it need to be between your projection and Stokastic to make you question if something is wrong on one end? That's a good question. I usually don't, because I know what goes into them for the most part. I just mostly kind of talk about it for your guys' sake here to like point out where I differ a little bit. And you could take that as me, my data, at least my projections, liking a play more, or you could take it as like, oh, okay, maybe I should question Spags on this one and I should defer to Stokastic. For me, though, it's my data. So I let my data roll for the most part. And sometimes it helps, sometimes it hurts. I do want to be a little more questioning of guys off the bench, because I do notice I project guys off the bench a little bit better than I should, because sometimes they're great per minute producers. But like yesterday with Quentin Grimes and Ty Jerome to a lesser extent, I had a good amount of those guys, and I was like, and they projected well per minute. But Ty Jerome if you guys saw, had one really bad first stint yesterday, did nothing in 10 minutes. It was so odd because he's always really productive when he's on the court. Second stint was great. He put up like 15 fantasy points in, another 10-minute stint. But it's like that first stint being dead was nothing. For Quentin Grimes, he got his minutes jerked around yesterday, still closed, but didn't quite get enough minutes because Jaden Hardy went off and scored like 20 points in a quarter. So basically, like for me, my blind spot is not caring enough about guys being off the bench versus starters. And that's one thing that I think is I should prioritize more. And if you guys are listening, you should too. It's like, if guy's a starter, that's an immediate bump up. If the guy was going to be presumed to be a starter and then he doesn't start, and that ownership's probably carrying a little bit higher than it should because of what the guy was before, you should take that guy out of your lineup for the most part. It's Kevin Porter Jr. a couple weeks ago for the Clippers, when people expected him to start and then he didn't. Like, that's the time where you just don't play him, even though he's still going to be good per minute off the bench. He's probably not going to get to the same minute ceiling in most situations. That's something I need to be more conscious of. But yeah, my projections, I trust as they are for the most part. So hopefully that's something valuable. I don't know, kind of a tangent, but that's what we do here. And guys, if you get value in a conversation like that, and of course the process here on stream every day, make sure to subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Again, very cool to see the yesterday most viewed, most liked video we've had. please let's help me keep that going here. Subscribe down below with the like button. Tell YouTube, tell the algorithm that this channel matters because it's only been a 2-month-old channel. We got to get to 1,000 subs to start running ads. Maybe YouTube will go, oh, cool, we get money off of that, that channel more now. But please show some love if you can. Subscribe down below with the like button. Check out our sponsors too. Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash. Promo code SPLASH, link in the description. Stokastic, 15% off all their data, all their tools. Link in the description as well. And the 15% off is in perpetuity. So best deal they have going at any time of year. Unabated, $30 off. Again, please check them out. There's a presenting sponsor here. And that's that. Shout out to the chat as well. Check them real fast. Let's see. Bench guys are self-fulfilling prophecies. If they play well, they get more minutes. Also true. And if they suck, you weren't winning anyways. Also true. But still, like sometimes when it's more the case of like a guy's projected well because Stokastic's minutes, which I use as my underlying thing, if they have him at 26 minutes and he actually ends up playing 22, that's the difference between a guy being a great play and a not great play. And I need to be a little more conscious of that when I'm playing lineups because it has been a thing that's like hurt me enough times. Data is always just data, so should be taken as such. So guys, there's incredibly good data projections, but I'll always stray from data where I see fit. That's a player part of the thing. I mean, that's true, and that's what we talk about the Sims. We're adjusting a projection up and down. That's why I like making my own NBA projections because like I'm putting them up or down kind of on my own, and I don't mess around with it too much. And just home from work, I turn on Spags. Thank you. You do turn me on, R. Stanley. I appreciate it. All right, let's go game by game, guys. We'll get to Unabated at the halfway point of the show. We got Golden State, 106.3 implied points. Indiana, 116.3. By now, we've kind of talked about this one enough already. Huge ownership here across the board. If you're going to fade this game, Golden State gets absolutely ass-kicked or something here. You could try and do that. You're also going to be tying up a lot of your value early on for guys like Buddy Hield, to a lesser extent, guys like Kyle Anderson. Well, maybe not to a lesser extent. Guys like Moses Moody, who I do have a question about the minutes. Dennis Schroeder. You can see here, Trey Jackson-Davis projected for 22% ownership. He's questionable. If he were out, that would make even more concentrated ownership for everybody else. Schroeder looking good right now. Buddy Hield, 69% ownership for the field. I'm going to give him 96. I am low on Schroeder, 39% compared to 49. Moses Moody, I have 52% compared to 33. That is one where I do question the Stokastic minutes a little bit. They have him at 27.9. I kind of think that 25 might be closer to his cap. And the fact that his knee's been banged up and he got ramped down a little bit in minutes there, where he played 25 minutes a game before last, 15 last game. That could be rotational, but both games had kind of the same construction with Wiggins in, Kuminga out. And I don't know that Moody, and Moody missed the game. I don't know that he comes into full run right away with knee tendonitis. So I would really watch out for Moody. I personally, when I'm kind of handpicking through lineups later, I will probably try to get less Moody than I would have right now in my top 150. Kyle Anderson, I think, is a good play. So my guess, and I think the projections right now would have some overlap in minutes with Kevon Looney, maybe a little bit of Quentin Post, a little bit of Trace Jackson-Davis, where I think they expect at some point these guys will play together, though it is about a 47-minute projection between the two, so maybe not. Kyle Anderson is basically the only real 4 they have. Like Moses Moody, I suppose you could try at 4. Lindy Waters, you could try at the 4. Kyle Anderson's like a legit power forward who can guard Siakam. Like somebody out there's got to guard Siakam. Somebody out there's got to guard Miles Turner, assuming he plays as well. So you kind of have to have one of TJD, Kevon Looney out there. Geese Santos is not really a power forward. They don't have a power forward. Like Kyle Anderson, I think, has to play big minutes here. So that's where I am with Kyle Anderson. He's getting a 63% ownership. I'm getting in 78%. Didn't juke his rates at all. They probably would come up a little bit for having nobody else left in the court. But that's that. Buddy Hield, I have to, I guess, make the case for a little bit. He's been great the last 2 games. Yesterday, I had him in every lineup. Worked out fairly well. He's one of the better parts of my lineups yesterday. That's it for Buddy Hield. I think that he's got a better upside than he even showed yesterday. He put up just over 30 fantasy points. I expect him to get more than the 31 minutes Stokastic has for him here, especially if Moody plays a little bit less than they're expecting. For Buddy Hield, he's been a high usage guy. I juked him up to about a 27% usage rate today, but he's gone as high as like 35%. Some of the smaller sample size stuff with no Steph Curry out there, no Kuminga. I mean, no Wiggins. Like everybody who's a legit shot getter is gone. So Hield at 4,100, even though he is, I think $500 more than he was yesterday. No, $700 more, something like that than he was yesterday. He's a great play. So Hield, I think you're to start your lineup with Hield and go from there. And I would say for Kyle Anderson, a little bit different. Oh, you know what? You're right. I didn't show the value picks. Good call. We'll get there. We'll get there. And no beer because I don't have beer in the house, and I'm not drinking in the week to start the year. I wanted to take a little break. So that's personal choice thing. Don't worry, I will drink tomorrow, but not today on stream. Indiana, 116.3 implied points. And Guy Santos, by the way, I'm under on. Looney, I'm over on. You can really play everyone you want here. Guy Santos kind of got lucky yesterday. He hasn't been that great of a producer on the year. 0.72 fantasy points per minute. That said, had a nice day yesterday. If you want to chase Guy Santos at $3K minimum salary, you can, because he's projected to play 26 minutes. So pick your poison here. All the Warriors are highly owned. I would favor Hield and Anderson, and I would like to move away from Moody, but he does project pretty well at shooting guard, small forward, and 3,600. For Indiana, if you get Halliburton and Turner playing, I don't think there's lots of love here. Nembhard at 4,800 looks okay. He's been an okay value for me for a while. I've been a better producer than it seems this year. I'm not a big Nembhard guy, but he's been popping up a lot for me projection-wise. My projections do weight this season a little bit more than the historical projections. That said, I don't see any love for anything here. I was low on Siakam and Halliburton the other day. They played well. I mentioned Halliburton being in a spot where, like, high total, good matchup. That's when you go to Halliburton. Kind of the same thing here. With the total being a 10-point spread for Indiana, it doesn't scream blowout, but they certainly could blow out. So that's that. All right. All right. Milwaukee, 109.5 implied points. Orlando, 102.5 implied points. As I mentioned, Giannis doesn't look that great today. I've bet 54.9, a little bit higher than Stokastic's 54.8. That's at only a 4.7x value. So you're going to get more Jokic, assuming that he does go. The issue is, like, you might not know Jokic's status by the time we get this game. So you might lose a pivot point from Jokic. Jokic's game is at 9. This Milwaukee-Orlando game is at 7. So you might have to make a little bit of a choice there. Do I play Giannis now, or do I hope Jokic plays? If I had to guess, I think Jokic plays. But honestly, he doesn't fucking love basketball like that. He's got the poops. He's sick, so that's how that goes. Thank you for the nice chats. Well played, Spags. Your lifestyle determines your death style. To be clear, I'll still drink. I'm still going to drink. I just need to cut a few pounds, and I need to feel a little bit better about, like, frankly, there's just a lot of work going on. And if I wake up and I've had a few too many golden monkeys the night before, and I'm a little bit slower to start, like, it just throws off my day. So that's really, lifestyle thing / just taking a break, really. The weather too, like, it's so easy to drink yourself to a stupor. I feel like during the winter on the East Coast, like, I get so seasonally depressed with being on the East Coast again. That's me too. Better than, I guess, being in fire. But that's the trade-off. For Orlando, 15% ownership for Cole Anthony. I've got 6. Goga Batadze, 1% compared to 1. I like Goga a little bit more. Took him in some of the dog ball drafts I did today. So I have no issue with him in terms of a projection play. But with Paolo Banchero in, you can't really play him. He's not going to play his full run of minutes. They've already said he's going to be minutes limited. He's projected for 25 today. Goga Batadze, 6,800, decent enough price tag. But there's so many better values on the slate you can get to, so many better pay-up options to get to. Batadze gets lost in that. And frankly, Hartenstein at a similar price tag, I think looks better. Cole Anthony, probably one way that Orlando stays in this game, stays competitive, is him shooting them into it, as has been the case for a while. That said, he's been a little bit lower lately. He's not always going to get there in every spot. And Banchero coming in takes enough usage away from Cole Anthony that he's not like a smash play. But I do have him at 30.9 compared to Stokastic's 28.7. So there's that where that is. These guys are playable, but not priorities, and we could save time on them. Or New Orleans, 107.8 implied points. Philadelphia, 113.3 implied points. For New Orleans, as I mentioned, trying to get a little bit of Zion here is your one high dollar option people aren't paying for. Kind of reminds me of, this is now maybe a month or so ago, when Ja Morant came back in and his minutes were starting to stabilize a little bit. He didn't project that well because Stokastic and the industry was giving him like 28 minutes, but he just went off, put up 0.2 fantasy points per minute, had a tournament winning day. It's kind of how I feel about Zion here, potentially at 9K, especially because you could afford probably him with a Jokic, with a couple of other, maybe a Tyrese Maxey on top of that too. Like, you can get 3 pay-up guys, probably not paying up all the way to like 12K, but like 1 12K guy and 2 9K guys, I think you could maybe do today. So Zion, I think, is kind of showing that prism where he gives you one more high upside guy. Maybe he just gives you that 2 fantasy points per minute and gets to 60 flat. I think he's worth some exposure here, even though not go crazy about it. Hopefully he didn't load up on cheesesteaks being in Philly today. Made 8 lineups yesterday. Had LeVert, Hield, and Garland every lineup. Hey, nice plays. I did not go to LeVert, which again was one of those things where it's like, I thought Ty Jerome's still too good of a value. And I think he was. That first stint was just dog shit. You missed that first stint. You'd be great then in the second stint. It's not enough to get there. But that's the name of the game. Once starting lineups come out, you should be swapping. If you have guys in that are like, we're presumed to start, and then they don't start, like the minutes expectation just goes down enough that you should be doing that always. So good job playing LeVert. Nothing else to note for New Orleans. I think taking that shot on old Zion is that. Philadelphia here. Oh, I'm driving to Philly in an hour. Our guy Mike here doing the cheesesteak thing. That's, I'm sure Jim's right. You got to go to whatever. I don't even fucking know. Even though I've lived here for much. I'm in the suburbs. I don't know shit about cheesesteaks. Besides the ones we have here. Delco Steaks. Whoop-de fucking do. Tyrese Maxey, 39% sim ownership. 19% for the field. I am over on Maxey again. He just died as chalk the other night. Or didn't really die. Still put up 45 fantasy points. But died relative to expectations there. I would go back to the well. Having Paul George back in does hurt the usage a little bit, but still a soft matchup against New Orleans. Maxey putting up an outlier day here, I think, would not be crazy. With no Embiid again, no Drummond. And, of course, McCain now out for the year. Jared McCain, that is. He was already out anyway. We got Paul George, 45% ownership, my top 150 compared to Stokastic's 50% for the field. Another really good play here, 7,500, shooting guard, small forward. It all works pretty well. Paul George has had upside, sometimes soft matchups. Beat the shit out of Charlotte one day for me as a 2% owned play. I was very happy with him that day. That said, as I mentioned, some of the rate things with Embiid and Drummond off the court, a little bit weird. Like he really does become not quite as good of a player as it is with just Embiid out. So I don't get the logic for why that would be. I would trust the projection as it is. But if you want to have reasons to move away from Paul George, like he does get a little bit weird without two big man centers off the court, like having Embiid, having Drummond out there, just large men. If you take those guys out, having just the strong hippo or strong fat man Gershon Yabusele out there, it's not enough for Paul George, it seems. And I could see there being a push-pull with Paul George and Oubre and Yabusele all kind of taking the similar shots. So that would be my caveat for Paul George, but he's certainly worth the field's 50% ownership. Kelly Oubre, 17% for the field. I got him at 1%. His rates don't really come up enough to justify getting him more here when you have Paul George and Tyrese Maxey in. I get why people will go there, 5,700, certainly a good enough play in the soft matchup. I'm not crazy about Oubre, though, and you got enough small forward plays out there, I think, or shooting guard plays, rather. I think for Kelly Oubre, you can find better plays. Like, I'd play Buddy Hield over him quite literally 10 times out of 10. Gershon Yabusele, 17% for me in my top 150, 15% for the field. Yabusele, one guy I'll highlight. Again, we've highlighted him a lot here this week because he kind of looks like a hippo, but he's also very fun in basketball. He just gets a lot of those Joel Embiid threes up, something I talked about with Josh this week on the deeper dive for Stokastic. Really is like a player that just becomes a little bit different with Embiid out there because he gets those shitty Embiid threes where he gets the ball behind the three-point line, just kind of standing there, and he's like, should I shoot it? And then he does. So for Yabusele, he gets those, makes him a little bit better of a play. 5,500, the price tag's coming up enough, but I still have him at 31.3 today. So if the salary works, I think just play him at power forward center. Oklahoma City, 115.3 implied points. New York, 111.3. I am spending too much time on this segment now. In general, that's my bad. OKC, I'm low in SGA, about half the field here. Higher on Jalen Williams, higher on Hartenstein, which is sort of the way my lineups look pretty often. Not usually this much exposure to the Thunder, but I can afford them a little bit more easily. Should be a competitive game against New York, whether you get Townsend or not. The 4-point spread here on the road for OKC feels like it's kind of halfway between Towns playing or not, so I don't really have a lean on that. Thunder going to make it hard on Brunson, I would think. And we've seen big men kill the Thunder lately. Obviously, Jared Allen's big day in that marquee matchup earlier in the week. So I think going to Towns here, logical on that side. The Thunder guys, though, it's a lot of Hartenstein for me in his revenge game. I have him better projected in the field. Obviously, you can rip a lot of boards against Towns and his kind of lackadaisical approach to rim protection. But I think for Hartenstein, good play on that side. Towns, a good play on the New York side. Everything else here doesn't really matter that much for me. Again, I'll get my Jalen Williams. I'll get whatever amount of SGA. It's a lot of SGA for the field, though, at 32%. Sacramento, no De'Aaron Fox with their 107.5 implied points. Boston, 119 on their side. Sabonis, very chalky here at 23%. I'm a little bit worsely projected than Stokastic, 48.2, graded 49.6. So I mentioned, though, he's been averaging 1.4 fantasy points per minute in court time without De'Aaron Fox. So I would say that, 1.37 fantasy points per minute for Sabonis, not a joke. But Sabonis, to me, just not as much of a priority play. And Cat will crush if he plays. Top spend up. I don't know if I'd say top spend up. I would rather have Jokic. But I do agree that I'd prefer Cat's Sabonis, and my ownership backs that out. Malik Monk, I think a better play, but at 7K, you're kind of priced where you need to be with De'Aaron Fox out anyway. The upside's higher against Boston. That said, Boston's a good team. It's now a 11.5-point spread going against Sacramento on the road. So I think there's a shot Sacramento just gets blown off the court, which wouldn't be the craziest thing, especially without Boston could pile up 3-pointers. It's a good Boston defense. It's not a very good, it's a better Kings defense than it seems. It's still not a good one. Let's see. We got Boston on their side. And again, Keon Ellis too, probably to play a good amount of minutes here. He's not really a good player, but he's 4K. If you want to not take Warriors chalk value, you could take Keon Ellis instead at $4,000. But Buddy Hield projects quite literally, I think, over 15 fantasy points higher. No, about 15 fantasy points flat higher for me than Keon Ellis. So would rather get Buddy Hield very often. Boston, 11% sim ownership for my Jason Tatum in my top 150. 12% ownership for the field. I guess he's not my Jason Tatum. He's all of our Jason Tatums. He's an okay pay up option here. You have so much money to spend. I don't love Jaylen Brown in the spot at 8,500. The projection a little bit under 5x at 4.6x. Not where you want to be. Derek White, not really there for me either. I think he's more of a dog bowl play as well, where you're drafting a bunch of different spots there against 12 other people. Porzingis, I'm not there really. I think Boston, not the greatest play in the world. And, the pace for Sacramento, not as high as it used to be either. I think people still like to attack Sacramento as a matchup. They're just kind of a team now at this point. Golden Monkeys are indeed 9.5%. Yes, they're a great beer. That's why you have 3 of them. Feel pretty good. Good to go. 4 if you really want to get froggy. 5 if you want to fucking start spinning a little. Maybe. Heidi, Healed. I assume you're saying Healed. Anderson, Butler, Lopez, Vucevic, Ellis. Butler and Lopez, I don't agree with. Healed, Anderson, I do. Ellis, I'm okay with. Washington, 115.3 implied points. Chicago, 126.8. Very high total here. Your highest total on the slate. Washington feels like you got to have Jordan Poole in for this one. That said, he's still Q-tag right now. If he were out, Kuzma would look better. Koulibaly would look better. Everything would look better. Alex Sarr still Q-tag as well here. If he were out, it would open up Jonas Valanciunas theoretically a little bit more. That's why we just had Jonas playing center without Alex Sarr the other day, and he didn't quite explode. Still a pretty good value potentially at 5,800 if you did get Alex Sarr out, though. You'd probably play mid to high 20s minutes, but have a pretty good shot at not closing is the issue for Valanciunas in any spot. Bub Carrington would look better if you get Poole out. Butler would be playable if Poole is out, but if Poole is in, don't play Jared Butler because you won't get minutes with Bub Carrington taking the backup point guard minutes that aren't there for Jordan Poole. Besides that, nothing really on Washington note, but the Poole thing would open up a lot. Zach LaVine, 22% for the field. I'm getting 14. Kobe White going to be decently owned. Giddey going to be decently owned. Really only getting to Kobe White here. Matchup you certainly can go here. One of the little things I've noted lately for projections that comparing mine even to Stokastics, I think sometimes they don't capture well enough, especially when you have a team like Chicago, bunch of high usage guys, bunch of guys who do a little bit of everything and rebounding and assists. Sometimes don't capture the fact that this is just a good matchup. There's a 126.8 implied total. So theoretically, you could just take any of these guys here and feel good about it. Because they're going to have one of the highest totals in the slate. Somebody's going to put up points. Maybe it's a bunch of guys putting up a decent amount of points, which is what the median projection is going to capture here. That's why you have these guys like 41, 41, 33, 34. That's what I'd have at. Stokastic has it at 42, 41, 37, 35. But really the point is just take any of them and they probably have a decent shot of hitting the upside of their outcome and their median projection. So play Vucevic, play LaVine, play Giddey, play White if you want. I think the field's ownership's a little bit high for it, but again, if you're just counting for a fact, this is probably the best matchup on the slate. You get why people are getting there. 6 if you want to make it with a sore butt. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Mullen, you got to stop being a dick every day in chat, man. I'm going to give you a little 5-minute warning here because just the vibes. Everybody else has really great vibes, and I appreciate it. And I love you being here, Mullen, but come on, dude. You don't always have to be contrarian and make it more difficult for me. We got what is the X zone stat? That's the percentage owns projected by Stokastic. So that's how much they expect these guys to be owned. And then the my sim percentage is obviously how much I'm getting in my sim top 150. Brooklyn here, nobody projected over 5% ownership. Clowney, you could maybe get to a little bit. He went nuts usage-wise the other day. I didn't even give him a rate boost, but I'm getting him in 12% of my lineups. For Brooklyn, you're getting Ben Simmons back in, so it's not exactly the same situation as it was the other day. Brooklyn a little bit less shorthanded if they have Ben Simmons and Day'Ron Sharpe in. So these guys looking like pretty decent plays overall, but none of them look great. So certainly you can go whoever you want in Brooklyn. There's a lot of usage left behind with no Cam Thomas, no Russell, no Cam Johnson, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons still Q-tag, I think, right? No, he might have been marked as probable. I think he is probable. So basically at this point, I think you could take whoever you want in Brooklyn, but none of them look spectacular at this point, with everybody being back in for the most part, besides those guys. Denver, 116.5 implied points. Jokic, 56% sim ownership, compared to 31% for the field. That's the big stand here. Jamal Murray, I have lower projected than Stokastic. Russell Westbrook, a little bit higher, but not a materially important play with 6% exposure to me. my top 150. Denver, though, it's Jokic or bust. If Jokic is out, everybody's going to look a lot better. No tag right now for Simmons. There you go. Okay, I appreciate that correction there. What do my top 3? I'll tell you my splash plays at the end, but you should probably be able to guess by some of the guys we look at. And real fast, because Mullen was correct that I didn't show the value. Here's your top value, guys. And then we'll go over to Unabated, look at their data. We'll run a sim, and we'll still get out of here by 5. So we're good. Clocking out by 5. A real working man. That's always my goal. All right, Buddy Hield, 9x value. Kyle Anderson, 8x value. Kevon Looney, 7.6x value. Moody, whose minutes, again, I would question coming off the knee tendonitis, 6.8x value. Devin Carter, who's one of those guys getting minutes for the Kings, I believe, now with Fox out. He gets minutes already in the rotation, but they're giving him more today. He's 3,100 and playing at a 1.2 fantasy point per minute pace as a point guard, shooting guard, rebounding like a fucking demon. Devin Carter, if you get Malik Monk out at some point and Keon Ellis, play Devin Carter. When it's a tank season, play Devin Carter. For right now, though, he's borderline playable, but only 18 minutes. He's one of those guys like Ty Jerome last night, where you don't get to start, don't play the guy. It's Devin Carter. Pat Spencer, another one. He looks like an intramural frat player for Warriors as their backup point guard. Does a little bit of rebounding, does a little bit of assisting, playing 18 minutes today. He looks okay as a value and $3K minimum salary. But he and Devin Carter both kind of not really plays unless things get squirrely. If Golden State gets blown out, Pat Spencer might put up some points because he rebounds pretty aggressively, assists pretty aggressively, and all that. Hartenstein, a top value for me, even though it's pretty expensive. But again, I have a Hartenstein bias in my data for whatever reason. Dennis Schroeder, Nemhard, blah, blah, blah. You can see all the guys. Yabusele, Paul George. All right, unabated time. Ellis will start tonight. Well, very likely Ellis will start tonight. But yes, I would expect him to. He starts normally. Yeah, no. He started last game with Keegan Murray out, so he's going to start in many situations. I'm going to log it unabated right now, and let's get going and show you guys this important video for friends at Unabated so you can learn all about their conditional NBA projections right now. You don't ever want to start an ad read with it's not Pornhub, but put guys in, take them out, and it's not Pornhub, but you can still do that. You got real-time NBA news, the news there's no jokes to make there. That's just good ass news. Get them on Discord. Don't even have to go on Twitter anymore. Blue Sky, you live. Graphs, look at graphs. Look at those graphs. Motorboat those graphs. It's Friday. Community tab. Spell that with a C instead of an O. That's what we're talking about with that community. And you'll be counting your money in Unabated. You can motorboat yourself on over to unabated.com/NBA, and you'll be getting data like this on your screen. And let's sim out these points bets here. I also did hear one person who pointed out, I guess the rebounds did not go very well yesterday. So do want to point out that in general, especially with Unabated, which does offer you back-tested data to show you like how the bets are performing and all that, how their conditional projections are affecting things in terms of people's ROIs. They have had over a 6%, I think, or 5.8% ROI for all their bets that sim above 5% EV. It's one thing to keep in mind. The second part of it too is like, I'm only showing you a select amount of bets here on screen. I'm obviously deliberately because I want you to pay for Unabated and they want you to pay for Unabated. But also like if you're just picking off like one of these bets because, I don't like Day'Ron Sharp, but I do like Hartenstein. I don't like Sabonis. Like if you're only taking one bet here, it's not going to get you the results you're supposed to. What you really need to do, which my pal Greg Ehrenberg has shown with the Odd Shopper stuff he's done on Twitter, you really in a perfect world want to hit all of these bets in a given day. Like all of them, you want to get the ones as soon as the guy's in, mark him in on the conditional projections, then sim out those bets, take all those. That's really what you want to do here. So like going off of one slate's results, even if you were to take like a week of videos here, and I know some people have done well with them, but I want to make this caveat. It's important to know about betting. Betting is so much about volume. Betting is so much about getting action down repeatedly with a process you can trust. That's what you're getting with Unabated. So just saying that here because somebody pointed it out and I get it. Other things happen, rebounds can bounce weird. That's true. And how many cock push-ups you can do? I don't know. Let's see. Oh my God. Do not lay on your stuff. Thank you. That's what we're talking about with cock push-ups. Thank you guys. Day'Ron Sharp over 8.5 points today. Project for 20 minutes by Unabated's projection team. One of the top teams in the industry right now. Over 8.5 points today. Good to go on PrizePicks and Underdog. So you pick them, you little pick 'em sluts out there. Get it going for Day'Ron Sharp over 8.5 points. DraftKings Sportsbook also looking good. And if it's a Q tag, which he is right now, if you're out, you'll get voided. So you can't sweat it too much. Over 8.5 though I guess he's he must be going then because they don't have him as a Q tag in the projections. Anyway, over 8.5 rebounds, also good on DraftKings Sportsbook for Day'Ron Sharpe and FanDuel as well at minus 120 odds. So Day'Ron Sharpe, you can take it anywhere for over 8.5 rebounds. Isaiah Hartenstein, we're going to do DFS sims after this, guys. So if you're tuning in for that, stay tuned. Hartenstein over 12.5 points, 12.7% EV. Go Hartenstein, go. Looking good on DK Sportsbook. Also playable on PrizePicks, 9.7% EV on there. And you can play it on FanDuel too, where it's over 11.5 points at minus 130 odds. But I would go for the over 12.5 at plus 105. Get that plus money bet. You can get it always because you're not paying VIG on those bets. You're getting VIG going your way. Domantas Sabonis under 19.5 points, despite De'Aaron Fox being in and under on Sabonis' points. Probably been bet up a little bit too high, would be my guess. Minus 110 odds, good to go for 10.4% EV on DK Sportsbook. Not bettable on PrizePicks and Underdog at that line. And FanDuel, and not so much. Trey Lyles over 6.5 points, minus 122 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. I'll get you 10.3% EV for Trey Lyles over 6.5 rebounds, and you don't want it anywhere else. So Trey Lyles only on FanDuel Sportsbook over 6.5 rebounds. Points rather, excuse me, not rebounds. Not rebounds. Rebounds now on the brain. We got AJ Green over 6 points. Not the one who was once a virgin. This guy, well, he might be a virgin too. I don't know, but it's not that one. 9.3% EV for over 6 points for him. Good to go on PrizePicks. You don't want it on your main sports books. Keegan Murray under 11.5 points, even with De'Aaron Fox in again. Lines and probably bet up a little bit too much. FanDuel Sportsbook gets you 9.1% EV at minus 128 odds. And it's borderline playable on PrizePicks under 11 points for Keegan Murray. Kason Wallace, last but not least in our points bets, under 8.5 points at minus 125 odds, 8.6% EV, and that's good to go on DK Sportsbook. Rebounds coming up next for all the rebound lovers up there. Rebounds didn't do well yesterday. So does that mean they're due to crush today? Or does that mean you never play rebounds? I don't know. Follow your heart, guys. You know what would be pretty cool? This should be thinking in tangent here as I'm kind of scrolling around. You know those guys who like just play slot machines and on stream and like that's what they do? Could I do that? Would I be good at that? How do I do that? How do they get people to pay like BetMGM to pay them to do that? I feel like I could. I basically pulled a slot machine here right now. It's not dissimilar. Under 5.5 rebounds for Ben Simmons, looking like one of your best bets today and unabated with their NBA conditional projections. Get that one under 5.5 rebounds for Ben Simmons on PrizePicks, 15.6% EV. Looks like you could still play it on DraftKings Sportsbook at 7.2% EV for under 5.5 rebounds on there for Ben Simmons. I think playing a slot machine would be a very different stream. Bobby Portis under 7.5 rebounds at plus 100 odds, 13.4% EV here for Bobby Portis under 7.5 rebounds. DK Sportsbook is where you want to take that one. Jalen Williams over 5.5 rebounds, plus 120 odds on there, 12.7% EV. Still bettable on PrizePicks as well for your pick'ems. Over 5 rebounds under your usual minus 118 odds gets you 10.6% EV on PrizePicks. Jaylen Brown, 12% EV for over 5.5 rebounds, plus 112 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. Not bettable anywhere else. Jalen Wilson under 3.5 rebounds, plus 100 odds gets you 11.9% EV for Jalen Wilson. And that's that. Damian Lillard, 11.7% EV on your Underdog pick'ems and your PrizePicks pick'ems for over 3.5 rebounds today for Damian Lillard, over 3.5 boards. Brook Lopez under 4.5 rebounds or boards if you're a cool hoops knower like I am. 11.7% EV for under 4.5 rebounds today for Brook Lopez on FanDuel Sportsbook. You can take that Brook Lopez bet on PrizePicks and Underdog as well, where you get 8.1% EV on under 4.5 rebounds for Brook Lopez. Assists. I need water. I need to sim this out, and then I need water. I need it in that order. And we play Pick'em in California. I have a suggestion for a book. Probably have to go offshore. Play whatever offshore. I honestly don't know which one's credible now. I know BetUS is still not credible, and they fucking. I remember when I bet them. I used to bet them when I was in college. Obviously, everything being illegal there. Love telemarketers, just calling all day long. Always fun. And basically, like BetUS is like I had to fucking fight to get that money from them. I had to send them like so many different forms of ID and shit for like a 10K payout. It was awful, but that was back in the college days where I was determined to get that money. I'd have found a way to go to the country if I had to at that point. We got Bovada still fine. There you go. Fliff, if you're doing sweepstakes, sure, people do Fliff. Kobe White here, assist props, 15.8% EV for Kobe White over 4 assists. Good to go on PrizePicks. You don't want it on your regular sports books though. Paul George, yeah, they still send me mail too, or they did for a while here. I don't think they have my current address. Unbelievable. Paul George under 4.5 assists, 14.2% EV for them, plus 124 odds for Paul George under 4.5 assists today. A lot of court time. You can also play it on PrizePicks where it's under 5 assists for 12% EV. Gershon Yabusele under 2.5 assists at minus 166 odds. A lot of juice on that. The 13% EV for Yabusele, who frankly just doesn't pass the ball that much. Jonathan Isaac over 0.5 assists. Playing some more minutes lately. He played, I think, 20 the other day. More likely playing, mid-teens. But 1 assist here for Jonathan Isaac, 9% EV on Underdog for the higher of 1 assist or 0.5 assists. Giannis Antetokounmpo under 5.5 assists today, 8.4% EV. Going against a tough Magic team. Assists don't flow as easily against tough defenses. One of those rules of thumb to put tape into your eyelids. I don't know. But Giannis here under 5.5 assists today. Good on PrizePicks, getting you 8.4% EV. And Domantas Sabonis over 5.5 rebounds. You can take that if you just want to bet on FanDuel. Minus 115 odds for Sabonis over 5.5 assists today. And last but not least, PRAs. That is right. 15 last night, 26 the day before. So that's right. Maybe because it's back-to-back, maybe you don't get more minutes. Still, they have them at 16 minutes today. I think that's fair enough. You'll get your assist. How could Jonathan Isaac not get an assist? Honestly, those kind of bets are fun where it's just like legit one stat you have to hit. I don't know that I'm trying to sell you on that as a concept, but like that's a fun sweat, I think. All right, not a lot of EV on PRAs right now. Again, with all the Q-Tag guys out, I would say check out Unabated yourself. You want to rule guys in, rule guys out accordingly. If you want to react fast to like Unabated alerts or Underdog Twitter alerts, whatever the fuck you're getting, using Unabated's data, once you get that alert, hop on Unabated, mark Towns in, run the sim with that, do it immediately. You're going to get a lot of EV for those bets. Adem Bana, I heard his name the other night for the first time watching the Philly game. Adem Bana under 9.5 PRA is looking good right now. 12% EV on PrizePicks and Underdog for your pick'em sites. He's the backup center, but he really doesn't play and doesn't do a whole lot out there. So Bana/Bona, he is good to go for under 9.5 PRAs. Domantas Sabonis here, honestly, not a lot playable for PRAs. This one I'll give you. Under 39.5 PRAs for Sabonis, got bet up a little bit too much. 7.1% EV on PrizePicks and Underdog. Probably not good anywhere else, but we got enough bets today, right? You're good to go. You got a Bana for that? General question, how often does a winning player actually make money each day? Make money each day, I don't know. The general rule of thumb that Stokastic, that Osmo had given a while back, Osmo himself, Alex Baker, was that you probably have to be able to lose the amount of money it takes that you would win in a tournament to be able to feel comfortable playing that tournament. So like theoretically, if you're trying to win a $100,000 tournament, you should have $100,000 in bankroll to play that tournament. But that's your mileage may vary. That would be for most tournaments. That'd be about a month of playing that tournament to try to win it. So that's how it goes. Spags sitting late. You're right about Thompson last night. Thank you. I was. That's true. Look, I still had some too. I mentioned just being under on him was probably the move, and hopefully that worked out for you guys if you did go that way. A lot of the field didn't, but it's hard to sustain when that price tag goes up, just kind of subsisting off of rebounds and blocks and stuff like that and assists. Like they go away sometimes. And really the weird thing with it too is that it ended up with being Şengün having a better day. And there's probably like a micro lesson for that too with like, if you have a guy who's really peripheral dependent, if he doesn't get there, much like points, the peripherals flow somewhere else. Peripherals flowed to Şengün yesterday. And the points did too, but like, that's sort of how the whole DFS thing goes. And I appreciate all you guys being here. One little shill here for me. 165 people watching live here. Yesterday we had 200, so we're doing okay. But main thing for me, guys, please subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. This channel is only about 2 months and change old. It's a precious little baby. We rub it, we give it kisses. But really, I'm here every day, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. showing you the slate. Thanks to our friends at Unabated. So please show some love. Why is it making me log in? I'm already logged in. You know me. We'll run this again. But anyway, here, I show you the real tools here, real data, do everything I can to make my projections good enough to show you here on screen and explain why things were a certain way for teams. So please show some love, subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. It does go a long way for me here. Just one guy running a couple different channels for NBA and NFL. A one-man gang, as our pal Steven Leavitt said. Check out our sponsors too, Underdog. Play some pick'ems, play some dog bowls. You want a trip to San Diego, the shot to win $1 million in prizes. Go check out Underdog right now. Promo code SPLASH. For a $1,000 deposit match on there. Stokastic, 15% off, promo code SPLASH for all of that. Check it out. Link in the description for all of that. You can see all their packages, different data ones. You got cheap stuff. You got stuff up to like $500 a month for every sim package. It's all 15% off. So please go take advantage of that. It does support the show directly. Half the money that would be going to Stokastic comes to me instead. So, Yeah, ooh, take that, corporations. and hold on, let's run the sim. And of course, Unabated, $30 off, promo code SPLASH. Go to unabated.com/NBA, learn more, and build up your DFS bankroll with betting. And again, volume of bets is key. So getting Unabated for yourself, so just tailing me on screen here, going to be a key thing to do. With stochastic data, you're going to see here coming up, guys, is going to be all stochastic data. So we saw my sim exposure. You're now going to see what stochastic thinks independent of me entirely. So that's going to be sort of your differentiation point here. So keep that in mind. Got to look a little bit different than my ownership did, but that's okay. So obviously that's the point of things. Checking the chats. Hit the like button. I am just one man. I'm just one man. That has become my sales pitch. Am I in the deeper dive? Not today. Tuesdays and Fridays, it's DK on there who does a great job too. So watch it. Obviously Josh on there too, doing a great job. And I'm on for right now, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know if that's going to move around when their NFL season ends because you do have like Laffy moves around after the NFL season ends. So hopefully I'll be on that show through the season, but I honestly don't know. So we'll see. Hoping I keep getting paid to do shows. That's how I feel about that. And splash the like. Yes, indeed. Ain't the only thing getting rubs and kisses. All right. Here we go. Top 150 lineups. It's favored them. Your number one ROI lineup right now, only a 110% ROI. So frankly, not the highest ROI for the slate. Cole Anthony, Buddy Hield, Jason Tatum, Kyle Anderson, Kevon Looney, Guy Santos, Zach LaVine, Nikola Jokic. So you are getting that Hield chalk that I swore by, the Kyle Anderson chalk that I swore by. Getting Guy Santos on top, who I feel a little bit iffy about. Zach LaVine, fine. Jokic, I love. Looney, I get it with the minutes going on there. Dennis Schroeder, Guy Santos at number 2. Jason Tatum, Kyle Anderson, Trace Jackson Davis, Q tag on him, but if he's playing, he's looking good in this lineup. Kason Wallace, Kyle Kuzma, Nikola Jokic. So one thing to note here, which I think is a difference as well between if you run, let's say, projections on the solver, just run an optimizer for it, or you look at a sim, you're getting less Warriors here. Naturally, like if you're going to play a cash game lineup today for the NBA, you're going to get probably 5, maybe 6 Warriors. For a tournament, though, you don't really want to have that many. And I think the sim is showing you that with these top lineups. Number 3 is Dennis Schroeder again, Buddy Hield, Lindy Waters. So you're getting 4 Warriors in with Kyle Anderson as well. Domantas Sabonis, Malik Monk, Noah Clowney, and Nikola Jokic. Still 4 of them. What happened to Oscar anyway? Limited his minutes, I believe. Yeah, he was ill, I think, or sick, whatever. He missed the one game and then came back in, kept his minutes down. Maybe keeping him safe because of the previous issues he had with, it was like his heart or whatever, his blood. I don't know what the fucking deal is with him. But maybe just keeping him safe would be my guess after he missed the game. Number 4 lineup here is Dennis Schroeder, Guy Santos, Lindy Waters, Kyle Anderson, Karl Anthony Towns, Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, Domantas Sabonis. Really the main thing the Sims is giving you is like rotate around 3 to 4 Warriors and just take whoever else around that. Cole Anthony, Dennis Schroeder, Lindy Waters, Kyle Anderson, Kevon Looney, Tyrese Maxey, Jason Tatum, Domantas Sabonis. It's your number 5 lineup. So look, you're getting a lot of Warriors here, getting a lot of Dennis Schroeder, a little bit of Cole Anthony, more Guy Santos, more Lindy Waters than I would have thought. A lot of Nikola Jokic, which I'm certainly a fan of. Towns and Sabonis lineups. You're getting studs on studs here, and the Warriors allow you to pay for it all. Your top ROI lineups, right, or top ROI players right now. Negative 4% ROI for Lindy Waters, negative 4.5 for Kevon Looney. So nobody a positive ROI on the slate. These guys are technically the highest right now. Nikola Jokic, negative 5.1%. So even though he's going to be in a ton of lineups, still one of the highest ROI guys. So basically should be a dude you build around if he's playing today, which I hope he will. Guy Santos, negative 7% ROI. Jason Tatum, negative 7.5. Keyshawn George, negative 8.6%. Exposures here. Kyle Anderson, 77% of lineups with him compared to the field 63. So you're getting over on Kyle Anderson. As I mentioned, they don't really have power forwards. They have guys, it's still a short rotation, but they have like a 10-guy lineup, 10-guy rotation. Kyle Anderson is the only one that's a 4. So I think Kyle Anderson, really, he's kind of the only one that's a 3. Like at this point, Buddy Hield more of a 2. I would say Moody more of a 2. Lindy Waters more of a 2. Like, I think Kyle Anderson has to play some minutes today, and he barely played any yesterday. I think that's why. It might be a part of why, at least. Dennis Schroeder, 65% exposure compared to 49% for the field, so you're over on him. A little bit lower on Schroeder than that, but I get why you're getting there. Just any Warrior, it's fine. Buddy Hield, 62% exposure compared to 70% for the field, so a little bit low on Buddy Hield, but he's still in over 60% of your lineup, so not a lock button play like I would have him as, but he is still a key play. Nikola Jokic, 55% exposure compared to 32% for the field. Guy Santos, minimum salary, I get it. 43% exposure compared to 25. The issue with this too is you're using up your shooting guard spot and your guard spot. If you play Hield and Santos, it's a little bit tough. Moses Moody here. Again, I'll say the minutes. I have a little bit of a question mark about him with him missing last game and the knee tendonitis being an issue. But 74%, no, not 74, 24 fantasy points is what he has. 39% exposure compared to 35% for the field. Your highest leverage guys right now, according to Stokastic data, you got Nikola Jokic, 22% more than the field. Lindy Waters, 20% more than the field. Guy Santos, 17% more than the field. Guy Santos sounds like a Roger from American Dad character. A painter, I don't know, somebody who commits stabbing crimes, whatever Roger does. Dennis Schroeder, 16% leverage for him, more than the field. Kyle Anderson, 13% more than the field. Your highest exposed guy, according to the Stokastic top 150. And Kevon Looney, 12% more than the field, 27% exposure overall. And your most negative leverage plays for Stokastic, Kelly Oubre, they want you to get 15% less, only 3% exposure compared to the field 17. I am low on Kelly Oubre as well. Paul George, negative 14%. I was a little bit under on him. I still think Paul George a good play. Shooting guard, small forward, 7,500, but they want you to get only 37%. Still in a 30-year lineup. It's not really a fade. It's just he's probably too highly owned at 51. SGA, negative 9% leverage for him, so 30% for the field, a little bit of over-owned. You have a lot of pay-up options around his price tag, so I would say that for really all those guys. Gershon Yabusele, negative 8% leverage. Buddy Hield, negative 8% rounded up, but you're still getting a ton. Vucevic, negative 7, and you're barely getting any. Where's Jokic at? Jokic, 22% leverage, so just we'll highlight that one more time. All right, splash plays for the day, guys. And again, yesterday, Buddy Hield was one of them, so that was pretty cool. But you guys know the deal here. Just please do the stuff. Subscribe, Underdog, Stokastic, Unabated. Save me the ad reads. Just please help brother out do it. My splash plays for the day. Got to be Buddy Hield. Got to be Kyle Anderson. I think those two should probably be in every lineup, I think. And I'll put 5 to 10 in the big tournament, depending on how things were looking with Luka before lock time. And I would think all of them would have Hield and Looney tonight, or Hield and Anderson tonight. Some would have Looney. But if you don't get Trace Jackson-Davis playing, they should probably all have Looney too. Number two splash plays for the pay up guys. It's Jokic again. I know that doesn't ever feel the most satisfying to say, but you can afford Jokic. I think you can afford things with Jokic. I would say he would probably be one of the key plays to me today. Besides that, is it Maxey? Maxey / Hartenstein, I think would be my two bigger stands relative to the field here. Hartenstein, look, he's pretty much always one of my guys. I still like Cat though. I know I personally will rotate around Cat and Hartenstein a little bit. But I think there's a lot of good options today. I've hopefully walked you through them all as best I can. Choose wisely, but probably play some Warriors. And if you want to go full tournament mode, play no Warriors, and you're going to be away from so much of the field. And you can find other ways to win. It's a big enough slate. Thoughts on Kuzma? I'm low on him today. He hasn't played that well this year. He's been playing under a 1 fantasy point per minute pace. It would look better if Poole is out, but if Poole's in, I'd still have a hard time getting there. But that's it, guys. Back on Monday with another one. I'll also be back on Sunday at 9 a.m. for one more NFL Final Takes video for the NFL slate coming up on Sunday. So watch that. Check out my NFL video. Of course, running through the Saturday and Sunday slates on the @SplashPlay Pod channel if you can. And hey, gamble responsibly, guys. Where's that little fucker? Where's that little bit? There we go. Gamble responsibly, guys. Even so, it's money time. Shout out to all you guys hanging out. Really cool to see the views going up, seeing more of you being here. I'll keep being here every week. That's my promise to you. Back on Monday at 4 p.m. See you guys then. Enjoy your days. Go Warriors, go. Good luck. Bye-bye.